Good evening, everyone. This is yours truly, Christina Williams from Primetime Power Show, from a woman's perspective. I'm very excited this evening because I have someone on the phone that is going to talk a little bit about women and being protected and protecting yourself. But before that, I do want to acknowledge the fact that I'm offering prayers for those family members that children were killed in school, just doing what they do. And so with that being said, I want to get started with something that's exciting for everybody, especially women and teens. We're going to talk about that. But before we do, I want to introduce you to someone that has an organization or a business called the Urban Defense LLC. And so that is a leading provider of self-defense programs in Philadelphia. And the founder and the owner of that is a person that was introduced to me a little while ago, and I appreciate that. And I want to thank Edith for giving us the opportunity to meet and giving me the opportunity to be able to have him on the show so that he could share some of the things that he does. You know that in the city of Philadelphia, we are becoming very in tune to all the things that's going on in the city in terms of violence. Even so, where they are offering grants and stuff for those agencies that will be able to do something with the violence in the city. So Master Whitaker is going to talk to us a little bit about what he does to combat that, to be able to have us to defend ourselves. So right now, I want to introduce to you, his name is Master Lawrence Whitaker, and he is the owner of the Urban Defense LLC. And so, Mr. Whitaker.
Yes.
How you doing this evening?
Outstanding. Marvelous.
Good. So we're going to start, and I want you to tell us a little bit about why you thought it was important to open up the Urban Defense LLC. But before that, tell us a little bit about what your background is that qualifies you to be able to teach this type of defense.
Okay. Well, what qualifies me that I'm from South Philly. So if you're from South Philly, everybody is, we've all experienced people going to be coming at you, young or old, understanding about being born, obviously, in the 60s, coming up in the 70s. You have to deal with things. But, going into the military, after high school, you learn about protection and hand-to-hand combat and things like that. And then our neighborhoods, when I got out of the military, I wanted to come home and save South Philly. So I got into martial arts to learn how to protect oneself, so now I can teach other people. And during my years of training, learning the martial arts from different styles of martial arts, I just found that there was another need for martial arts other than traditional martial arts. The martial arts that people learn now, they just go with karate or taekwondo or other people think that may help protect them, or boxing, but that's usually not the case. It takes years and years of practice. But I started the Urban Defense Program so that we can learn how to protect ourselves in a faster, more aggressive manner, because you don't have to sit there and train for 4 or 5 years. If you hang out with me for a few months, you'll learn some basic protection techniques and strategies to help you. So in the process of me doing my training, my sister was murdered by the guy that she was seeing. And my nephew was also murdered on a street crime. And I was also raised in a domestic violence household. So that qualifies me, to make moves to be able to protect the community. This is why I started the martial arts program in urban defense, because traditional martial arts wasn't teaching us how to do that. And the majority of the martial artists that are out there, come from a traditional background, particularly Asian or European, and they don't have the same understanding of an urban environment that I come from. And most of those guys have never been in a real street fight or ever got punched in the face, actually. They just theorize most of the techniques that they have, not understanding about the fear and aggression that really comes from training on the street.
Wow. And so coming from Southwest Philadelphia, I think we had primarily the same issues. And I remember thinking that when I had my daughters, to put them into some self-defense class. And so they were quickly not interested after a while because it was just so regimented that they didn't have any interest in it after a while. But they did have a little bit experience in seeing what it was. So I just thought that the self-control that needed to happen with it was something that they needed, and they needed the structure to be able to have a clear perspective on where they wanted to go in life and what they wanted to do and what it took to do it. Not necessarily physical, but the mental and the emotional training that they received was very good. It was very good. So now I have a 5-year-old granddaughter that I worry about, especially for her safety in, because you know exactly what happened a couple days ago in Texas when all those young people, 10-year-olds and 11-year-olds were murdered in their school. And so it's not just the school aspect of it, especially when you talk about Southwest or West Philadelphia or North Philadelphia at this particular time. It used to be when I was growing up that even if they were gang warring, where men and boys were fighting each other, that women and children were off limit. But we find ourselves in a perpetual state of all of us being in the area of danger when we just leave the house or we just sitting on our porch. So with all that being said, tell me a little bit about the 3 key principles that you have.
Yeah, we're in a safety and protection program, that I started, and because of it was basically one of my students asked me, is there a way that can we teach people a lot quicker, how to protect themselves, some key components to that for personal protection. So when I came up, the awareness of safety and protection, because most people get kind of fidgety when you say self-defense. First thing they think of, I don't want to do self-defense. I don't want to fight anybody. I don't want to hit anybody. So now it's just making sure that you're aware and making sure that you're aware of your surroundings at all times. And then in the sake of, school shootings and things like that, most of the time the people have a warning and the people usually don't pay attention. Hence the awareness part, with the young guy, once again, the same scenario plays out, using Facebook and Instagram and Twitter to send out these messages, and then the parents are being quiet about all of these things. And then the people in class or people that's supposedly monitoring the school are now watching these young people walk in and out of these buildings. So the people that are supposed to be protecting the children, just taking their jobs for granted. So we have to raise the awareness of all these schools, colleges, and every place else, and malls, for everybody to be vigilant. When you go to the airport, if you see something, say something.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you have, this looks a little suspicious, just let somebody know. It may be nothing, then it may be something. So that's where the awareness, the awareness part comes in, that you must be vigilant at all times, which will help keep us safe. Mm-hmm. And as long as we stay safe, it's a lot better. So this is where the safety and your alertness and keeping also I have part of the component of martial arts is staying fit, mm-hmm. and being able to work out so that you can stay alert and stay aware of your surroundings at all times. And most of the people are not basically getting fit, especially during this time of COVID when we should be, and that's all the signs are there. But most of us were staying home and we're just eating and gaining weight and not even conscious about our bodies, even though they tell us that we should get exercise, drink more water, get probiotics in your body to help you stay healthier. A lot of people went the other way. So,
we don't need you to talk about that. We don't need you to talk about that.
Well, it's just going back into the safety part, making sure that we stay safe, so that we are able to protect ourselves if needed.
Right.
So if you're safe and if you have at least taken some basic precautions for your own health and your own life, less likely you'll have a chance of something happening to you. And then when the protection comes in, that's when I teach you basic information, basic techniques of how to protect yourself. If it comes down to that, hopefully it wouldn't come down to that, because your awareness skills and our first rule of self-defense is to keep your personal space. And when it comes to personal space, a lot of times the only person that can enter that is somebody that friends, family that can get close to you. And a lot of times when it comes to domestic violence or violence at home, it's somebody that you usually know. And a lot of times people don't want to take that action because they don't want to hurt this loved one, even though they're trying to hurt you. Right. So this is why we talked about, basic first rule is once you have a disagreement or an argument with one of your members of the family, people close to you, you make sure you keep your space so that they don't get emotional and just all of a sudden sucker punch you will lash out because you won't be close to them.
Right.
So this is why, the protection part is really important to understand that you don't want to be close to people that you have an argument, because most fights and confrontation starts over some type of disagreement or argument. And at the end of the day, it's always the same thing. It's like it wasn't necessary. It was always something really petty, over envy or jealousy or money or things like that, or over a girl, something that can be resolved. But most of us, when we know each other, we get more emotional versus even a stranger, because especially when it comes to money, that you let somebody borrow some money, then they want more money, and they like, all the things I've done for you, and they get animated. This is what people, that's why one of the rules is you never argue in the kitchen or the garage.
Right, right. I can understand that. I never thought about that, but I can understand. Yeah.
Right. Because people have gotten, stabbed in the burger, like, oh my God, they picked up knife because they were so mad at the time, and didn't realize what was happening to them, or they picked up a hammer and hit the person, so these are some things that we teach, and that we don't want to, argue, while I'm after 7, at night, because you're not going to get no sleep. You're going to wake up, you're not getting no sleep, you're going to wake up mad anyway.
Right.
So if you love or care for this person, let's talk about this tomorrow, so that it'll be better, because somebody has to take the higher road to say that let's talk about this later. Because right now, we're really emotional. So that's why some people need to be trained, because everybody have a different emotional level. A lot of people don't have a lot of emotional maturity. So we want to, the people that are trained, has to have that. You have to see that, oh, this is getting a little out of hand. So we need to, pump our brakes on this and back up and do this another time.
Right. That is very, very hard to do, especially when you're talking to someone they have made up their mind that they just want to get it off their chest, or they just want to get it done right now. So let me ask you this. So so for 30 years you've been doing this, and in that 30 years, I'm sure that you've seen all types of things, because I'm looking right here at your profile, and others can't see the profile, but it's so long it would take up my whole show time. So I don't want to do that. You could do that later. But what I wanted to do right now is I want to transition over to a service that you're volunteering to offer for our young ladies and for our teens in Philadelphia. Specifically, I see that it's going to be in West Philly. And tell us a little bit about the workshops that you have planned for young ladies or young adults. It's an all-female workshop for adults and teens. A little bit about that and what that will bring about in the knowledge of self-defense for us that don't know.
Okay, well, I started this free workshop, in 2010, for a young girl named Sabina O'Donnell that was murdered, when she used to work at the Piazza. She was coming down Girard Avenue on her bike, and she was 19, and a young guy that attacked her, he was 18, and he supposedly had wanted her bike, but he wound up, raping her and strangling her and leaving her in a lot off of Girard Avenue naked. And my gym was off of 6 and Brown, not like almost literally around a corner from that place. And it was just such an horrific crime. And my daughter used to work at the Piazza over there at this burger place. So it was such there's so many women that get hurt and they get, killed out there. And it was like, this was just so close. And it had, so much media coverage. I wanted to do something to volunteer to do a program for women for free in June, because it happened to her in June. This is what it started about. And because it's just, again, it's just so many crimes happening to women, most of the time. And a lot of times, a lot of women don't have options. So my program is to give some women some options. If something does occur, you would have some options of what you can do in these situations when you see somebody that's following you, or you think they're stalking you, or they're following you if you're driving a car, if you're on a bus. These are some of the tips that we will be giving out, at the workshop. And like the young lady that was sexually assaulted, on the SEPTA bus. She's a young girl, and she had no idea. She actually was in shock, and she actually fainted during this whole attack. And they were, why didn't she do this? Why did she do that? And how could she when she didn't know anything to do? Wow. She was just a regular day for her. All of a sudden, her life gets changed in an instant.
Wow.
Because nobody even told her or let her know about anything. And this is what, the Urban Defense Program does, and Awareness and Safety does, is gives you the information like right away, versus you joining a karate school and getting a contract and paying me every month to learn how to do a kata. We need to learn how to protect ourselves like right now.
Right. Right.
I give an example, like, you at the studio, and he's like, look, Lawrence, there's 3 ladies out there, they trying to hurt me. What can I do to get away from these ladies right now? What can you show me at this point that I can utilize to get away from these women? And this is what urban defense does and the awareness safety protection program does. Like, you're not going to be an expert, obviously, after a few classes, but you'll have more information that you can draw from, and you can always get better. And so now, so I just want to make sure that we would become a life preserver for humanity. We want to do what we can, all that we can, to help some young women and young people, even some young boys, because we all know that young boys get, taken advantage of, but young boys is never really going to say anything. Like, most crime or most incest is always, shh, you're not going to talk about that. So, and everybody know that somebody's been sexually assaulted somewhere, but nobody says anything. It's the biggest crime in the world because it's the most silent crime.
Sure.
So it's not sexy like murder. Sexual assault takes into account of everybody. Priests, cops, doctors, everybody's a part of that. So, and that's why, we want to make sure that young men know the signs of people that's like, getting a little too comfortable, a little bit too close, girl, you sure getting big, but that's your niece. Like, come on, like,
right.
different statements some men may say, and even women are guilty of, assaulting their family members. So I know a person that, was assaulted by, a teenage girl, older woman, and he was a teenage boy, and he was like, made to, to be with her. And he don't know what he's doing, but like, men be like, yeah, boy, that was good. Like, yeah, but the little boy was raped. It's like, you don't even know it.
Right.
He was taken advantage of, but nobody ever sees it that way. And that makes him a sexual predator later on in his life. And these are things that we want to make sure that we put out there, that people talk like, oh my God, I know about this, I know about that. So this is what the awareness and safety program can help introduce people to.
Good. So listen, we're going to come right back, and I'm going to give you the information about where you can go to meet Mr. Whitaker and how you can get involved and be a part of this free self-defense classes. So we'll be right back. We're going to take a break for a few, and we'll be right back. Hey everyone, we're back. We're back for a little time. I have some information for you. I'm certainly hoping that you have a ink pen or some pencils or something that you'll be able to write this vital information down. If not, I'm also going to give you some information on how to follow up on this information and how to get the information. So there are free workshops. They will teach you about physical attacks. You need to attend 4 free workshops that are being held on Wednesdays in June. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. And so it's for all females, for adults and teens, and it'll be held from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Wednesday, June 1st, June 8th, June 15th, and June 22nd.
Yes.
And so where is that going to be at, Master?
51st and Spruce at the Holy Apostles and Mediators Church. The entrance is right on 51st Street.
Okay. Its entrance is not on Spruce Street. It's a large church there. It's not on Spruce Street. You need to go on 51st Street.
Right. You want to go in on 51st.
Yeah. And the students will be learning. I want the parents to understand this, and I want the moms and the aunts and the grandmoms to understand this. You will be learning to fight off bullies, about rape and other types of physical attachments using test time, basic, and advanced self-defense techniques. And it's offered by who?
Master Whitaker.
Yes. So he has more than 30 years experience. And Master Whitaker has perfected the fit moves and mental toughness. Wow. He teaches and wants to share with women and teenagers at this free workshop. So, Master Whitaker, which is the founder of the Urban Defense Center, wants women and girls to be alert, aware, and vigilant to protect themselves and others. So remember, space is limited. So what do they need to do to get in contact with you?
Well, they can contact me at 267-974-0287. 267-974-0287 and leave a message, or you can text me at the same number.
Yes. Or you can email at
Urban Defense.
Yes.
At rocketmail.com. Urban Defense at rocketmail.com.
Yes. And what about if I wanted to know more about the Urban Defense Center? What's your website?
UrbanDefensePhila.com. That's PHILA. UrbanDefensePhila.com.
So everyone, listen, thank you so much, Master Whitaker, for spending your time with us and giving us some information, and for volunteering to make sure that our women and our children are protected, at least be able to know what is going on around them, so that they could have some defense of their own. So everyone, this evening I want to say good night. I don't want you to miss this opportunity. It's an opportunity for females of all ages to learn to avoid danger and stay safe. This is yours truly, Dr. Christina Williams. This is From a Woman's Perspective on the Primetime Power Show. Good night.
Good night. Thank you for having me.